Okay, welcome everybody. I really honor you for coming out and being willing to talk about this. This is a hard topic. I've had an interesting time observing the reactions to the title of this, Vilca Dying. That was Janice's, by the way. But I really loved it. And the people go, are you sure you want to call it that? And I am. Because in 2004, I did this project. It was called Transition Planning, Complete End-of-Life Education and Resources. My father passed away in 2002, and I had to take care of all of his business, and I took him, and then had to reorganize my mother's life, and then I took care of her. And I learned a lot, and I thought, I struggled running around the internet at night trying to figure out what I needed to know and trying to put the pieces together. So I thought, if I need this, other people need this too. So I'm going to put it in a thing. And so I made a thing, and it ended up to be a CD. And I spent so much time explaining what transition planning meant instead of Vilca Dying. That's why I appreciate it. It gets right to it. And then I don't have to spend all that time explaining what transition means. So anyway, it's time to wake up and grow up, because it's just part of our life. Now, here's my legal disclaimer. Almost every single thing that I came up with, every question I came up with, I'd ask different lawyers, different people, and I get different answers. So I'm giving you the best shot I've got at this moment. And will there be errors? Oh, yeah, I'm sure there will be. Will there be, oh, no, that's not true. Oh, yeah, I'm sure there will be. But as we get further into the project and we get things clearer and we get more people proofing it and stuff, we'll get better. But we wanted to bring this to you on All Souls Day, to introduce it to you, to show you just what opportunities are here in Vilcabamba. So I did the best I could, and here we are. Okay. So you don't need to be here. You can get up and leave if you live alone. If you have no family or animals in Ecuador, you do not care if anyone is notified of your death, you do not own property in Ecuador, you do not have any more money in an Ecuadorian financial institution than you're willing to donate to Ecuador, you do not have more assets like cash, jewelry, art, or furnishings that you aren't willing to donate to your neighbors and to Ecuador. And you do not care what happens to your physical body when you die. Then no problem, good to go. See you later, have a nice afternoon. But the consequences of those you might want to know about if that's your choice of not doing anything. Your financial assets will be given to Ecuador if no one claims them between 30 days to 6 months. It varies depending on the situation. Your personal assets will probably be taken by your neighbors or Ecuador. Your body will be placed in the morgue in Loja for 30 days to 6 months. Then it will be placed in a mass grave in Loja landfill or donated to the Loja Medical School. Somebody is going to be left scrambling around to take care of your business if you don't take care of it. So do us all a favor and take care of your business. Preparing for the inevitable. It's going to happen to all of us, and look at the age most of us are. I mean, it's like we need to do this. If you own property here, you need to do some stuff. It's your right and it's your responsibility to arrange for your final body disposition, business, and belongings. So here's some things to consider. Are you living alone? If so, do you have friends who can follow through your wishes if you die? Do you have a physician available who can be called immediately and declare cause of death to obtain a death certificate so an autopsy can be avoided? Do you want to be cremated or buried? Do you want your organs donated? Do you want to donate your body to an Ecuadorian medical school? Have you chosen a funeral home to handle your remains? Do you want your ashes or remains shipped back home to the States? Who's going to handle that? Who will be in charge of your affairs in the immediate aftermath of your death? If you're married, do you have an original marriage certificate? These are all things that you need to think about, because we're not in Kansas anymore, kids. And your U.S. documents don't work here. And as I was looking at it, because I did so much with U.S. documents and learned so much about the legal system in the U.S., it's like, why doesn't it work here? I don't get it. What is wrong here? What is different here that makes this so different? How many of you know the difference between civil law and common law? You need to know the difference between these two things. Let me go back here. Okay, wait a second. Okay, civil law is Roman law. It's based in Rome, was where it was originated. 150 different countries use civil law. Ecuador uses civil law. Common law is from England, and 80 countries use, including the U.S. and Canada, used the common law. So there are two different law systems, and I'm going to explain to you the difference between a bunch of the different things that are different aspects that are different, so you can understand why this is important. So in common law, the law itself is based on case laws or legal precedents. The prime importance is given to prior judicial decisions. Judges make decisions from previously, and that's where we base our law on. And they refer back to statutes and laws and stuff, but basically it's what's happened, what judges have decreed before. But civil law is based on coded laws or enacted legislation. Judicial statutes are of primary importance. Codes and statutes are designed to cover all eventualities, and judges have more limited role of applying the law to the case in hand. Past judgments are no more than loose guides. So about lawyers, in the States, wills, you can write a will on a napkin and throw it in a drawer, and it will be honored at the time. But not in civil law in Ecuador. An attorney must create the will that is then processed by a notary and recorded in the civil registry for it to be legal. Lawyers are required to create legal documents. There's no DIY in documents in Ecuador. You can't do it like you can in the States. Notaries also have different jobs. Now listen, those of you taking notes, all of this is going to be on a website. And a web page with links to where I got the information and all this stuff. So you really don't have to work at doing that unless you hear something you really want to go and look at or whatever. But this is all going to be up on vilcadying.com. So notaries in the States, their primary role is just to witness signatures. And in some states, like Florida, for instance, you can perform marriage ceremonies. But mostly it's just witnessing. But here, it's a much bigger deal. They generally hold undergraduate degrees in civil law and graduate degrees in notarial law. Ordinarily, they don't go to court. They're limited to drafting, authenticating, and registering certain types of transactional or legal instruments, like residential and commercial conveyances and registration, contracts, and estate planning, and so forth. But it's a much more important role than it is in the United States. Judges have different roles as well. A judge or a jury acts as a mediator or arbitrator between parties presenting arguments, where in civil law, the judge builds the case, and he gathers all the facts, and then he passes a ruling based on the laws. Living wills are healthcare directives, 5 wishes, or stated end-of-life wishes are honored in the United States very sacredly. Not so here. It's not something that they have typically been doing, and they're now getting more into it. But in the past, that really hasn't been part of their culture or their law. But you can have one, you can create one, and maybe at the time you need it, maybe it'll be honored, and maybe it won't. There's really no guarantees. The civil law has more self-responsibility. For instance, in prescription drugs in the United States, under common law, pharmaceutical things, prescriptions are required. Here, they're not. And very often, you don't even need to have a doctor. And pedestrians have the right-of-way in the States, and here cars have the de facto right-of-way in Ecuador. Liability is another difference. Liability lawsuits are very common in the United States because of how our law is structured. Here it is not. It's more personal responsibility. Pay attention to where you walk. That's why they don't have this big deal about the holes in the sidewalks and all that. It's like it's not part of their culture. Also, in common law in the U.S., presumed innocent until proven guilty. However, in civil law, you presume guilty until or unless the judge decides otherwise. Organ donation is not automatic in the United States. It is here. If you don't want your organs donated, you need to indicate that. End-of-life documents, there are basically 3 different categories. There's wills. There's open wills and closed wills. Basically, a closed will is taken to a notary in a sealed envelope. The notary doesn't see what's in it. A document is apparently placed on that where the witnesses sign that what's in that will is really what it's supposed to be. Notaries don't like this, but it's part of a part of their system. And the notary keeps that will with him. Power of attorneys, there are general power of attorneys and special power of attorneys. Power of attorneys are only valid for 1 year, notice. So be sure you're paying attention to that. If you've written a power of attorney, it's only valid for 1 year. General power of attorney are for everything. You don't want to do that unless you're really sure you're really completely, totally trust that person, and you might really want to be very, very conscious and careful of doing a general power of attorney. And then they have affidavits or sworn documents, and they can be various things. They can be a living will. You can put your information in that. They can be legal statements or legal agreements or whatever. Legal documents in Ecuador are registered in the civil registry. They record all the legal documents, and they're filed by date. Now, pay attention to this. They're filed by date only. So if you file a document, a will, you better be writing down the date that was filed so you'll know, so they can go back and retrieve the original documents. Inheritance laws are different here as well. The basic law here is 50% to the spouse and 50% divided among all blood children. If there's not a spouse or blood children, it goes to the parents, or then the siblings, or then the nephews, in that order. So you can write a will and say anything that you want to in that will. The problem is, if one kid comes back and says, oh no, I don't want that, I don't like that, boom, it's void. It doesn't matter what you wrote in that will. One kid says they don't like it, and it stops. Everything comes to a screeching halt, and it goes back to this 50-50 thing. So if you have an intention of making a will that's different than this, with property that's in Ecuador, that's all you have to worry about, whatever's in Ecuador, or assets in Ecuador, then you better make sure you have an agreement with all your children that they're not going to come back and try to create a problem.
If there is no spouse, then is it 100% to the children? Or?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then can you leave it to anybody else besides the
Okay, these kind of questions, legal questions, I can't get into that stuff. Okay. But I can't answer that. I claim innocence. I'm not going to answer that one. Okay, now here's another problem difference that we need to be aware of. The graph on the left is this is the population of Ecuador. See, note at the bottom are the children, the youngest age, going up to the oldest to 100. And then on the right is the United States. Now notice the difference. 60% of the Ecuadorian population is under 30 years old. So look at the United States. We're all up here in the 55 to, 60, 70 age group. So it's going to create different needs in the community. One of those needs that will impact you is emergency medical assistance. Resources are not spent on ambulance and EMS staff here because they don't need it like we do in the United States. We think that we grew up in the United States with our age group and how it works, but it doesn't work that way here. It's just not a priority to them. Ambulances are unreliable. Sometimes you'll get them and sometimes you won't. Sometimes there'll be a driver available. Taxis are a good option. They're not equipped here to treat the heart and lung diseases that us expats have. We have all this heart stuff. We have things that they don't deal with. And besides, because of their population, it's just not where they put their resources. So we have to understand that it's going to be different here and make different choices. Major medical issues have to go to Loja. And so that could be very critical, depending on what's happening to you. So here in Ecuador, we have this 5. It's a police notification thing. And it's the number 5 on your telephone. If you go to the police department and you sign up with them, you give them your passport and your schedule, your name and address, cell phone number, and your email address. They put it into a database, and then one of the police officers will program your phone for you for emergencies for number 5. You hit 5, and it goes to your home. It's not a GPS thing. It goes to wherever the home number that's listed for you. And so you can get immediate care. The thing is, you can't expect them to speak English, because often they don't. Usually they don't. So if you just hit 5, they'll know to come to where you are, to your home. If you're somewhere else, then that's another issue. But at least they'll be able to come right to your home, and they'll know how to do it. Here's another big one. If there is an expected death, if you know that we know that there's a person having medical care, and we know they're dying, and it's part of the process, you do not need to call the police first. It only complicates things. Don't do it. Call the doctor, and I'm going to tell you what to do, but you don't have to call the police as long as it's an expected death. If you end up this is another reason, if you end up in a hospital, you better have a proactive caregiver, and preferably one that speaks Spanish, because you might need to go and buy supplies while somebody's laying on the operating table, which just happened to somebody recently here. Somebody. So this can happen. So you need somebody with you in the hospital who can translate and who can be present. Bring your documents to the hospital. Bring cash or a credit card, preferably both, and plenty of the cash, so you can have it to do whatever you need to do. Bring your insurance information. Before the body will be released, you're going to have to pay the bill. So that's why you need to have the cash or access to cash, or a credit card. The attending physician in a hospital, the attending physician will sign the death certificate form, that information form that needs to be signed. So that makes it a little bit easier. You're going to need to have a personal representative, a power of attorney, executor, or I don't know how you say that last word. I'm not going to try to say any Spanish words because I don't know any Spanish and I'll sound really stupid. So I don't know what that last word is, but that's the word in Spanish. And this is a really important decision that you're going to make. So consider it very, very carefully. You're asking a lot of somebody to do this. And they need to be willing to be a proactive caregiver. Be there. You got to have somebody saying, this person needs pain meds. They need this or they need that. You've got to have somebody in the hospital who's going to be proactive, or you won't be taken care of, especially like you expect from the States. And again, a Spanish speaker can't say that enough. I'm not going to go through all this, but I want you to see some of the things. This is some of the stuff that powers of attorney are going to have to do for you. That's a lot of stuff.
Is that the same as executor?
Yeah. It's whoever's going to take care of your business. I'm still not clear exactly what they're all saying. But this is a huge responsibility. So you might want to make deals with somebody. I'll do you if you'll do me. And so you...
Yeah, right.
so to speak. So you can get your stuff taken care of. Hospice, if you're not familiar with what hospice is, it's a team orientation. It's professionals, volunteers, and family all working together for the comfort and support for the patients and their families. It's pain management, neither prolonging life nor hastening life, the quality of patients' last days. It's emotional, social, and spiritual impact on the patient, family, and friends, bereavement and counseling services to family before and after the patient's death. Hospice is about providing comfort and dignity at the end of life. There's people there to help people live until they die. Quality of life is the goal. So that's the basis of what hospice is.
Do they have that available here? Like a hospice?
Hold on. Hospice is understood as palliative care in Ecuador. Palliative care is pain management. Palliative care has no government monetary support or time constraint requirements. Few doctors are able to prescribe the serious pain medication. So this is self-care. This self-care is self-pay. So that's why they don't have pain management here. If you go to a hospital, you're liable to be given ibuprofen and sent along your way, and you know, that's all they got. That's all they're going to give you. They don't have it here. They don't do it. It's not part of their culture. Pain management is not. So we're trying to help that along. We're trying to help. Wait a minute. Sorry. So Phyllis is responsible to do this. She's creating this pain scale. And we're going to come up with natural herbal alternatives, pain alternatives, as well as pharmaceuticals. And it's going to be on the website, so you'll be able to see, okay, you got a 10, okay, that's morphine in pharmaceuticals, and herbals, it's this. And we're going to have this scale that will be up there. So you can, and Dr. Sonia's working with us, and we're going to find out what the different options are. So if you want to go alternative, you can, or if you want to go to pharmaceuticals, you can do that. Vilcabamba Hospice has been going along. The two of the queens here are here, who've been working so hard. So what we can do at this point, hospice in Vilcabamba. There's a pain assessment form that will be available on the website. You go on, the first thing you do is you go on the website, fill out this pain assessment, this patient assessment form. And we'll have an idea about what services you need. You email it to vilcadying.com. Vilca Dying at gmail.com. And then we will begin the process of finding out how we can help finding new assistance, whether it's paid or volunteer, help locating required equipment or supplies, help finding legal help or resources. And we're working it, we're developing it, and sorry. What in the world? I love technology when it works right. Okay, we're looking to expand our hospice team. So if you are a nurse or nurse's aide, volunteer sitters, holistic practitioners or healers, massage therapists, aromatherapy, music therapy, counselors, if you want to play in some way, if you want to help work with us, let us know that. Send us an email, and we're going to and get on the Vilcabamba Connection site, which you'll hear about in a minute, and let us know that, and join the group, and we'll let you know when we start doing training. We're going to do some training in 2020, and try to get some volunteers trained so we can take care of each other. In the meantime, if you end up in Cuenca, there is the most amazing place you can go to. If you get out of the hospital and you still need care, you're still in pain, you're not done. They're done with you at the hospital, but you still need more help. You can go to this place, and they have RNs and physicians trained in palliative and end-of-life care. They have 7 private rooms. It used to be just for cancer, but it's not just for cancer anymore. And you can use it for short-term hospitalization for recovery. This is $40 admission intake thing, one-time thing, and it's $40 a day for a private room and $20 for a non-private room. And the patients pay for the medications and the necessary equipment. That's amazing. That is really amazing. If you end up in Cuenca and you need help, you go there, and they can do that bridge from the serious surgery.
How many people are in the non-private?
Two, I think. I think it's 2. I think. Okay, so we got the big decision: cremation or burial. What are you going to do? Burial. Burial here is because they're Catholic. Typically, the Ecuadorians are Catholic. That's the most common thing. They don't typically do do cremation. And but the thing about it is it's temporary. They're burying them, but it's temporary. They bury them for 4 to 7 years, typically. There is a funeral, a cemetery in San Pedro, if you can get into it, that you can stay there. But the rest of them, they move you. Bodies are placed on top of each other or put in a mass grave. Burial is slightly less expensive than a cremation, but now they're just about the same. But for us, it's much more complicated for burial than cremation. for expats. They're used to this. They're used to the thing. If you bury and you want the person to stay in a grave, you have to do a 50 every year, some amount of money, $50 or some amount of money every year. You got to keep, somebody's got to keep paying in order for the body to stay there. I was so surprised how often this exhuming thing came up. And apparently it's a very, very common thing. They move bodies around here. Okay, so cremation is...
Does IESS cover any of this?
Okay, wait. Okay. I'll get to probably most of your questions. Cremation is much, much easier. It's about $1,000 to do it. They right now, our go-to place is Sueños, and they charge $900 right now, and but after the first of the year, they're probably going to be raising it. So, yes, and the other one charges $1,085. So it makes a difference, but it's just the logistics of it are so much easier for cremation. Okay, burial on your own land. Of almost every single question that I ask, I had 5 lawyers. A couple of different days, I had 5 lawyers' tabs up on my computer, and I was asking them questions. And plus all the research that I've done. This is the only thing that everybody agreed on. You cannot bury a body on your own land. And I know there's lots of people who don't like that idea, but that's the way it is. You don't do that here. It is absolutely illegal. And if you think that that's what you want to do, that means you're going to be asking your friends to do something that's illegal. So you've now been warned, and do whatever you're going to do about that. Okay, so somebody's got to pay for the cremation or the burial. And somebody's got to sign for it. And the easiest way to handle this is if the person, whoever has that authority, is there when the body is picked up. A spouse can authorize a cremation, or actually either one, without any documents from the deceased as to wishes. Interesting, huh? So it doesn't matter if your spouse said what they want. If you're there, you're the spouse, you get to decide. On your cedula, there is a little place where it says married or single, and the word is casado, or what? I'm embarrassing myself trying to say Spanish words. Anyway, that means married. And if it says that on your cedula, then it's really easy. Remember in the beginning where I said you need a copy of your marriage certificate? Yeah, you could be in trouble if you don't. If it doesn't say you're married on your cedula, and you go there and you're trying to do these sign the authorization, and you don't have a document, you could be in trouble. But if it says married on your cedula, you're good to go. Okay, now if you don't have a spouse, you need friend or friends who are going to have a power of attorney. And at one of the funeral, there are 4 funeral homes in Loja, 2 main ones, and then there's this other 2. But in the 2 big ones, one of them, Sueño, requires 1 person to sign, one power of attorney. But the other one requires 3 if it's not a spouse. So, keeping that in mind, the first option is a whole lot easier.
Wait, go over that again. You're saying if you're not married to that person, 3 people have they had power of attorney already?
From one of the funeral homes, yes. The other one you don't. One of them, just 1 person can have a power of attorney. So, and somebody's going to have to take responsibility for payment of this, and the funeral home will handle the paperwork, but you need your documents. One of the most important documents in this whole little game here is that first word, which I don't know how to say, which means death statistics report. And as of July 2019, this is done online. When I talked to the hospice ladies here, and they told me horror stories about trying to get death certificates signed, I realized that this is a problem. And how are we going to fix this problem? And so I started rooting around, and I found that this law had just been changed. So now it's a whole lot easier. And the doctors they go directly to this website, and they put in the information, and And then they have your cedula number, your passport number, and they know what's wrong with you, and they can immediately do this report for you. So it's really important that you sign up with and establish a relationship with a doctor here. If you're in the hospital, the attending physician will sign this document, but this is a really important deal right here.
Well, how many physicians are there here?
Okay. Hold on, we'll get to it. I'll answer probably almost all your questions by the time I'm done. If not, I'll do the best I can later. Okay, so what do you do first? What happened? Oh my God, I got a body. Okay. So you're at home. If the person dies at home and they have a doctor, they know it's an expected thing. Call the attending physician so she can start the report. So she starts the report. Then you call the funeral home right away. Just do that, then immediately call the funeral home, and have the original passport and the cedula and a copy of both handy. And if you can, get the power of attorney, POA, power of attorney, to the body to sign the cremation right then. If not, then there's going to have to be more going back and forth to Aloha and fiddling around trying to get the paperwork. But this is the easiest. I'm all about doing this fastest, easiest, cheapest. So, okay, they die in the hospital. The attending physician will create the document. You have to pay the hospital bill. Then you call the funeral home. And then be sure you have the passport, cedula, or a copy handy. And get the power of attorney to where the body is so that they can sign the authorization. And be sure they bring their documents with, of course. Okay, if you have a suspicious or an unattended death, you found a body on the road or someplace, call 911. Or the 5. That's when you got to do it. You have to call the police in this situation. And then you call the attending physician if you know this person has seen a doctor. The police will determine if an autopsy is required. Police will transport the body if the autopsy is required. If the autopsy is not required, then call the funeral home. Be sure you have the original passport and cedula available if they really want that, which they probably will want one or the other, and have a copy available as well.
Do you surrender? No, that's perfect.
They're saying they want it. We'll see. I don't know. They're saying they want it.
We haven't in the past.
Okay.
Okay, but then the embassy wants it.
You don't know about that. So I'm just saying like
Yeah.
you just take the information.
Okay. And that's the reason to have copies. Hold on. I'll get there in a second. Okay. So autopsies are occasionally required if it's non-natural, unknown, or suspicious causes. They will do an autopsy. It's suggested that whoever is involved in this be a Spanish speaker, so you can talk to whoever you can, and be sure you have your papers ready and available. Also, here's another little one. Before you call anybody, put away any valuables, put away computers, phones, wallets, jewelry. Get that out of the way of what's going on. There are some folks that have a spiritual belief that you should leave a body where it is for either 3 hours to 8 hours, some varying on that, or some people say 3 days. If you want to do that, you can do that here. It will cost you more to keep the body someplace, whether that's in your home or whether that's in the mortuary up in Aloha. So this is a decision that you need to make, and if it doesn't matter, your belief system, it doesn't matter. If you're dead, and you're gone, doesn't matter, then cool, that makes things a whole lot easier. But if this is your belief system, then that can be worked around as well. Caring for your own dead is possible. Again, it's a commitment. It's a huge commitment. All the directions for how you do that and what you have to do are going to be on the website, so you'll know what needs to be done. But again, it just makes it all more complicated, but it is possible. Again, making more complicated is sending your remains back to the U.S. It can happen. It's a pain. You got to have money. You got to have somebody willing to go through the hoops and follow through. And so, but if you want to do it, you can do it. But it's, as I said, expensive and a pain in the neck. The U.S. Embassy is there to help. They have some different assistance that they offer. Mostly, it's very limited. According to Charlie, who is our local representative, he said what they offer is very, very limited. They will help find if nobody knows anything about a contact person, they'll try to do that. They have some limited things that they'll do, but they can help. If you'd like to leave your life story in a legacy, we have a legacy questionnaire that'll be available on there. There's a lot of people who want people to know who they were, and so you'll have that information available on the website. Also, the dying process. A lot of people don't know what it's like to die. If you haven't experienced it, if you haven't been there, you don't know what is there. Watching somebody die is a hard job, and so if you know what's coming, if you know what to expect, it can be a lot easier. And so that information is up there too. You can find that. This is personally one of my favorite subjects, nearing death awareness. It's the magical things people do as they die. And it is amazing to watch them do these things, to talk to their dead relatives, it's just amazing. And so we're going to be doing continuing education here, and that's one of my favorite subjects. And we'll be talking a lot about that one. Okay, so here is a basic to-do list. All right, this is here's real basic stuff. Okay, you go on this website. There's going to be a link, and I want to honor Cuenca Medical Resource page.